So those are the numbers. Let's talk business then with two of the region's politicians, both MEPs, David Campbell Bannerman for the Conservatives and Alex Mayer for Labour. We'll hear from them both in a moment. First, so let's take a look at some of the other party policies on the economy. Now, the Liberal Democrats say they'll add a penny to all rates of income tax. They're also pledging to eliminate the deficit on day-to-day spending by 2020 and a programme of capital investment to stimulate growth. Now, for UKIP, they would raise the personal tax allowance to $13,500. The party also wants to cut business rates by 20% for some firms and increase the inheritance tax threshold to £500,000. And for the Greens, a move towards a 4-day working week, a wealth tax on the top 1% of earners and a big programme of renationalisation. We'll take the business rates that we saw there in the report. Very interesting point there. One person described totally unfit for purpose was the quote. In today's world of online shopping, it would look very much that the Tories' policy is out of touch. Not only out of touch, but actually closing down, responsible for closing businesses down.
Well, there is a relief fund, which is very important, and I do accept. I mean, what's happened?
But why introduce it? That's the point, isn't it? Why don't you have to have a simple policy which everyone understands? You wouldn't need relief funds and things, would you?
A lot of it works quite well. People have seen rates even falling, actually, but it's hit some businesses very hard. We understand that. We have this relief scheme. But we have pledged in the manifesto to look at the wider scheme. I do think rates needs looking at.
It's not as if Labour can actually sort of sit there too smugly either, because in your policy you're talking about potentially making it based on property values. That's not exactly in touch with online world today that we live in, is it?
Well, I mean, Labour said that we're going to look completely again at business rates if we form the next government. And we've also said that it's important to look at what is being calculated. So, for example, we've said that it's wrong when people are making big investments in machinery, for example, for that to be taken into account.
Tourism, that was another area of concern. Again, a huge area of wealth and bringing a lot of money into our area. Why, in that case, are we applying the full rate of VAT then to people coming into our region?
Well, VAT, we have pledged not to raise VAT, which I think is important. 20% is high enough.
But other countries actually reduce it for tourists.
Well, yeah, of course, it's an EU tax, so we could actually abolish and replace VAT. That's not in the manifesto, but it is a possibility post-Brexit. But I do think there's a whole package. I mean, economic infrastructure, we have this £23 billion programme we've committed to. Skills are in there, R&D is in there. They also need particularly better roads, better access, better rail access.
Now, tourism for Labour, obviously not a great area to talk about, because in one respect you would be driving tourism out, wouldn't you, in that you're trying to increase wages to a point that some hotels would go out of business. At the same time, you're increasing taxes as well, so people in this country couldn't even go on holiday.
Oh, I think that plenty of people will continue being on holiday here in the east of England because it's a fantastic place to visit. Labour understands that tourism is a kind of a cross-cutting policy, so you need to get everything right. But we also need to stop the massive cuts to local authorities who then can't invest in things like the museums that local authorities run, and Labour has said that we'll have an end to that.
Let's end on Brexit. Is the one area, isn't it, that the whole election next Thursday will potentially hinge on. You're both at opposite ends of it, and yet even here we are, less than a week now before people will be going to cast their vote, and we still don't know what either of you really feel about Brexit.
Well, I know what I feel about Brexit.
Tell me.
I continue to think that it was a mistake, the decision that we took as a country.
So a second referendum coming your way?
But I understand as well that that is the decision that the British people took. I just think that it's going to make us weaker, poorer and more isolated.
Now, they're stupid, the British people, then?
No, I don't. I think that they were misled by unhelpful red buses making lies about the amount of money that would be spent on the
economic shock, where has that gone?
Well, I don't think the
emergency budget, where's that gone?
Well, I think that food prices are already rising in the shops, and I can see that. We want to make sure that we've got the best possible access to the single market, and I think that really matters to businesses here across the east of England.
I'm afraid I think Jeremy Corbyn will be a disaster in terms of negotiations. I work on trade deals. I've been on the trade committee 7.5 years. I think we'll end up with a Canada-style deal. We've just signed that. The EU just signed it. I mean, I heard this week the Trade Committee, Japan is going to do a similar deal to Canada. Australia and New Zealand are going to do similar deals. Why not Britain? We had the biggest ever vote in British history in the referendum. 17.4 million voted. Many in the east of England voted that way. Let's respect it. But, you know, you need someone who's going to negotiate. We've only got 11 days from the end of this election to the start of the actual talks in Brussels.
That, I mean, you know,
well, we need to get on. No, well, it's Article 50 of 2 years. You've got 2 years to get on with it. But I think let's not forget we start in a very different place. We have no quotas, no tariffs, and all the laws are convergent with the EU because we're a member of the EU. So we can get on quickly and do this in 2 years. But you need someone who's going to be serious about negotiating and not just sort of give away billions to the EU, which compromises our security and our businesses here.
I think Keir Starmer will do a great job at that.
Alex Mayer,
in opposition.
David Campbell Bannerman, thank you very much indeed for coming in to debate the issues. Thank you.
Thank you.